Welcome everyone to the Water and Sewer Commission meeting of Monday, March 7th, 2 p.m. here at the Wastewater Treatment Conference Room. We would open it up, the first part of the meeting, to public participation. Do we have any? Having none, we can move on to what we'll call it the Bill Norton stormwater moment. Go ahead.
This month's stormwater moment is obviously, as it says on the flyer, every drop counts. They're talking about conservation fixtures for homes and businesses that conserve water, that also have what's called the Water Sense label, which are approved by the EPA as part of the conservation program. EPA is looking at a 20% reduction in water consumption through these mechanisms, and also trying to manage conservation for basically 36 states throughout the nation that are going to have some water shortages. Here in the Northeast, we really don't have that kind of issues, but other states do, so they've mandated it throughout the United States, and presumption that sooner or later, throughout the United States, we'll have some sort of water impacts on drinking water.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions about the flyer? Having none, we'll move on to our number 3 on that on our agenda is billing issues.
None at this time.
None at this time. So we don't have a quorum here today, so we're not going to be able to take and pass any resolutions. We will make our regularly scheduled water sewer workshop on March 21st. We're going to make that a special meeting of the wastewater treatment or of the Water and Sewer Commission. Turn that into a special meeting, so we will pass resolutions. All these resolutions you see here will go on to our next agenda. Under number 5, discussions. Is Roger Linder here?
Yep.
Oh, Roger, great. So Roger Linder of Suez will talk to us about the Clarifier proposal. Roger?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sure. You can sit right there if you'd like.
I've met many of you before in the past. Roger Linder with Suez Advanced Solutions. I'm out of the Rochester area. And we're here to talk briefly about some work right up the hill here on some clarifier work that's proposed at the wastewater plant. And, essentially what they are is 2 large underground tanks, uncovered, and they're concrete, and they're starting to show their age. A lot of people feel that concrete does not require any sort of upgrades or servicing, but anyone that's walked on a sidewalk knows they crack. So it's time. We've inspected the Clarifiers, brought a specialist in, took pictures, reviewed current situation, and we're proposing work on Clarifiers 1 and 2. There are 5 up there. The Clarifiers 1 and 2 are older than the other 3.
4.
Oh, there's 4 Clarifiers. Okay, so Clarifiers 1 and 2 are original, and 3 and 4 are newer and not requiring work just yet. So we're looking at working on the Clarifiers, coating them, trying to improve their lifespan, and of course the longer you wait, the more expensive that becomes, like anything else. We being Suez currently has a master service agreement with the city that was signed back in October of 2019 to do in-kind work on tanks and related structures. So far we've done the 2 water storage tanks near the water filtration plant, and we're currently working on renovating filters at the water treatment plant. That's going well. We just finished phase 1 recently, and we're starting phase 2 in a couple weeks. And so this would be what would be called scope of work 5, to come in and do the Clarifier work later this year, hopefully. And what we would do is do Clarifier 1 and then Clarifier 2 immediately afterward. And we've talked with plant personnel about taking the clarifiers offline and what that would entail and that type of thing.
Would we need to take both clarifiers offline at the same time, or you just do one? And can we get through with just one?
We would,
Well, with three, pardon me?
yes, we can. We would do one at a time, and in Roger's proposal, he proposed us completing one tank and then filling that one, and 24 hours later having the other one down and cleaned. And then
Gotcha.
to come and continue. That would give us the most cost-effective approach to pursue.
What's the age on the two older clarifiers, the original dates, do you remember?
1936.
Is that all? 1936? All right, and what about the two new clarifiers, the two newer?
70s or 80s?
I thought it was 83?
80s?
86? 86.
So, do we have an estimation of how long for the other two clarifiers would need work? Another 20 years, maybe 30 years, 10 years, 5?
No, well, this one, I didn't do the math.
83, yeah.
But, let's see.
Well, what we
These are
did,
about 80 years old, and
Yeah,
so,
we-
and those are 86.
I haven't seen the newer clarifiers drained yet. I would think once we get clarifiers 1 and 2 renovated, we take 3 and 4 down just to get an inspection on it and say, but I don't think it would be anytime, in the next couple of years or anything like that, but we would wanna do probably an inspection just to see what kind of shape they're in once the other two are up to snuff.
Okay, and you have been patching 1 and 2 over time in the last couple of years, or how did you find out about the cracks in 1 and 2?
Well, they were taken out of service and inspected, and down in the trough
Yep.
with the auger turns, the cement has been compromised
Gotcha.
rather badly.
When did that happen? When did we get in there to see those?
I think
was
it's-
wondering if this was an ongoing problem that you were helping us patch and now need the full work? Or
No, I don't think there's been any patchwork done on it.
Okay.
Chris, have they done any temporary patches
No,
on it?
no temporary patch has been done. We take each clarifier down every year for inspection. Number one has had some issues with it. It's just been a priority. Other things in the plan have been prioritized first. But
Okay.
it's getting to the point where we need to do something with primary tank 1 definitely. And primary tank 2 is just as old. The primary tank 1 has a large, dig out behind the auger, and that is just gonna get worse with the way the concrete's fading away in there. It's just disappearing.
Okay.
We have to do something.
And what about, are you, so are you giving us a proposal for 1 and 2 without actually having looked at 2 yet?
We've looked at 2 as well. So the clarifiers are taken down, they're washed out and that type of thing for general maintenance. And we felt after a couple of meetings that being able to do 1 and 2, one right after the other, saves on mobilization and demobilization, bringing crews, equipment there and back twice, that type of thing. So it's kind of like anything else, the more you do, the less per unit price it is, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so we felt that if both need it, and we have the staffing, that we'd want to do back to back, that ends up saving the city money. And it's convenience for the contractor, of course, just to be able to, order more material at one time, be on site and go back to back.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question about the nature of this? Is this, I remember Steve mentioning something about lining sewer pipes and thinking, well, it's good for 30 years, 50 years, whatever. And I was like, yeah, but you're putting in a pipe that's been there 100. He's like, well, maybe there'll be something better in 30 years. And I get that mentality. It's a big hole in the ground, it's a big tank. Whatever, I have no idea, we're doing to patch it up. It's great. Is this something to get us the next 20 or 30 years, or is this this is pretty sweet stuff and it'll get us another 60, 80, 100, or do these things have to be just dug out and redone at a certain point just because nothing lasts forever? What is, you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I do. And the goal is, no matter who you ask, whether it be the coatings manufacturer, the contractor, they're never going to give you it's not like a 30-year shingle on an asphalt roof. This is going to be, it's to prolong the lifespan of the existing structure. There's no way that you could say, oh, it's going to last 20 years, especially things underground. So it's to add to the lifespan of the structure, whether it be 20 years, 30 years. If anyone gave you an answer, they'd be making it up. you know, and I'm not here to do that for you. But it is to increase the lifespan, and if I always look at it as, what if nothing's done, right? Well, then you're gonna have premature failure. And so this is to extend the lifespan of a structure that's been there a long time, and to expend it considerably longer. I just really don't know how long. You know, it's
Sure.
it's just not a fair answer if I gave you one.
Sure. Well, I was just curious, you know, if you blow it right out of the ground and do another one, we're talking, I assume, about a massive, completely disproportionate expense to what we're doing here.
That's correct. Yeah. This is more, but although nothing's really been done other than I think maybe some injection sealing here and there and cracks maybe.
Some
over
injection
here.
sealing was done between the walls on 1 and 2
Okay.
primary clarifier. We're having a lot of bleed through, and it's worked. But what this is, the concrete has aggregate in it. The concrete is disappearing, and the aggregate's falling out of the wall. This is just gonna keep getting worse and worse as
Sure.
we go. There's nothing we can do to stop it. By coating it, you're putting a coating over to stop that from happening. We don't coat the floor because the floor is where the grit and the sludge sets, and that rakes along, it'll just take the stuff right off.
Yeah.
The floor is not as bad as the walls from the looking at where it looks at it. The bad spot is where the water comes in, hits a bath, and shoots straight down with the filling. That's where it's really tore up pretty good. And that's over 80 years. How long this will last? I can't tell you. But you're not gonna be putting new primary tanks in the next 10 years most likely. Unless something major fails like a wall or something like that.
Cool. Thank you.
And even then, I think there'd be additional tanks, they wouldn't be new, you know.
I'm sorry.
There'd be additional tanks, they wouldn't be to replace these two. These two would also be updated.
Right, I mean,
to
if
the
we're
same
gonna
kind
add
of,
additional tanks in, that's where you would sit there and say, let's replace these tanks. Because there is room for 2 more tanks for plant expansion. The plant's rated for 9.5 million gallons as designed right now. We can go up to 13.35 million gallons by adding 2 more primary tanks. We can go to 18 million gallons by adding a 4th secondary reservoir. So there is expansion possibility in this plant, but it's, you know, if we got into that with primary, if you start adding primary tanks, you might wanna look at, if you're doing 2, tear one out, and put another one in or something like that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
And this is, this work is not at all in our current budget, is it?
No.
Okay. All right.
One thing that is offered that we do for most of our services is you have the ability to spread the cost of the project over 2 years or over 1 calendar and a year and a day to hit 2 budgets. So that's within the proposal too, because when Bill and I spoke, we
Saw
said,
it.
yeah, so that was the reason to try to help accommodate budget lines.
Great. Well, we definitely have something to think about. Is the backfill, you said that there's some wash away, is it, on the outside of tank 1? That,
On the
is that,
inside.
is that filled and repaired all part of the proposal?
Yeah, so it would be backfilled and built up, if you will, and then coated over.
Okay.
What happens is, I think to your point, is once the aggregate starts to spall and break apart, now you're gonna start seeing steel that's reinforcing steel, and that's when things really start. Once that starts to corrode out, that's when things really start
You
to
got
break down.
really
So you
problem.
wanna, yeah.
Great.
Just like you see under bridges, unfortunately, if you drive around New York, you may see some rebar and that type of thing.
That's when you really got,
Yeah.
that's when your issues
It's
get
time.
worse.
Yeah, past time.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any further questions for Roger? Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Timber harvest is now ready at Keenan Reservoir.
Yeah,
See,
it is
you see
complete.
that in your packet?
Mhm.
Did it show us, both Keenan and did I also see, Butler?
Yes.
So is the.
Keenan one is the one that's just being completed,
Okay,
and the Butler is the one that's proposed. So obviously, we can't do anything, can't vote on the proposed one, but we'll discuss the Keenan.
okay. It's just being completed.
Mm-hmm.
And did we get what we thought we were going to out of it?
I believe we did, but I don't have the number in front of me. I have a piece of paper here. But I believe it exceeded it slightly.
Exceeded it slightly. And, And is, so we're just talking about Keenan now that harvest is complete. And we do have an estimate for Butler, and we're not, though it's not on our agenda to talk about,
Yes,
or?
we do, from F&W Forestry, there's a sheet in there that outlines what area they were looking at for Butler Pond, and they were looking at the white pine, basically, and, coming in, expected bids will be at least, $50,000 to $60,000, depending on the market value, and as we all well know, what's going on with the market.
Right.
So,
Paper market going nuts like the rest? So is that number higher than it normally is?
Timber prices right now are at all-time high.
And if you read in the body of his letter, he does err on the side of conservative, being conservative with his numbers.
Right.
So he would anticipate it probably coming in higher than.
How did he come to select this area? Do we have, do you have, I know you probably can't answer this right off the top of your head, but are we thinking that, is there a regular cadence? We do these areas and then wait this long and then do these areas?
Yes, they've obviously scouted out, for not a better word, for the areas and looked through all of the all the city-owned reservoirs and watershed properties, and they maintain a database on, where they've done the harvesting and where the harvesting is next, and then they look at the specific trees and what species they are. As you can see, some of the other hardwoods species they were looking at, they were worried about the gypsy moths.
Yep.
And whether they can harvest them based on the outbreak, whether it's going to be large or small.
Gotcha. Anybody else have any questions about the plan? Chris, you're more familiar with the history of, does this bid look similar to the bids you've seen in the past?
The last one that sticks in my mind, I think, was like 118. So this seems like a little kid brother estimate, but
Gotcha.
I don't know how big in comparison the thing was last time, the land area.
Right.
But any time that they've come in and spoken with us, they've given a real good reassurance of caring about ecological things and doing this to help turn over the watershed lands environmentally as much as economically for us. Almost like the economics for us are a byproduct of good ecological practice, which makes me happy. So I usually see these as a good thing, and Steve often seemed to feel as much as well.
Mm-hmm.
Although cutting down a bunch of trees didn't at first seem like a great idea.
Yeah, for your watershed.
But I guess a version of this company has been working on this land since 1800s, I think, and it's just been something that we've always done to put a couple extra pennies in for things like tank refurbishment.
Thoughts, Bill? Just as Chris said, it's been an ongoing thing that we've done, and it's as Chris said too, it's ecologically sound that nature goes through a succession. We just kind of speed it up to take trees before they start dying and things of that nature when they're at their peak ability to provide us with some funding.
Yeah, I think in all the time since I've been around, Tom, who I've dealt with a lot in the past, tends to be conservative. Well, I can't guarantee it. I think almost every one of the harvests has come in over what their estimates have always been.
Right.
And I think that larger one Chris just referred to, that was mostly a hardwood harvest, so that figures were higher than just pine.
Oh, that's right. And
Gotcha.
wouldn't you try to get some ash before that?
Yeah,
Borer
the
thing?
ash boring up. They wanted to get some ash stuff and some other stuff out before they fell to the emerald ash borer. So it was all part of that.
And he said he may expand a little bit on this area in his letter.
Right. Sounds good. Next on the agenda is Duels and Filter project.
Dual sand filter.
Dual
Yes,
sand filter. Sorry.
Roger's in charge of that project too.
Oh, there you go.
But,
Look at that.
That project is progressing well. We had a little setback. There was a little too much sand put into the filter, so we had to remove that. But as of today, there's water in both filters. One has been tested. You have to pass 2 coliform tests to put the filter back online. We did one test yesterday, one test today on 4 that will get the results back tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do second test on 4 and the first test on 5, and then we'll get those tests back the following day, which is Wednesday, and then Wednesday we'll do the second test on 5, so that if everything passed, then we'll be placed back in service probably 4 on Thursday or Wednesday probably, because we'll know results. We'll put that one back on Wednesday, and then we'll look at probably putting in the 5 back on either Thursday or Friday, because we want to be able to blend them in with 1, 2, and 3, and then hopefully by the end of the week or Saturday we'll be able to take 1, 2, and 3 offline, and they'll be in on the 14th to start the rehab on 1, 2, and 3. Our computer went down, so we had to steal the one out of here, so I don't have any pictures. So hopefully for the workshop I'll have some pictures, and I didn't even, off the top of my head, I probably could have brought the laptop. We probably could have brought the laptop in and hooked it up, but hindsight's
Great.
golden.
So it looks like 2 of them will come back online if they pass those tests.
Yep.
And then 1, 2, and 3 will come off the line
Yeah.
sometime next week? Is that what you said?
Hopefully by Monday, because the schedule is for them to start removing the sand on Monday from 1, 2, and 3. Hopefully, you know, as with any project, we worked all the bugs out on 4 and 5. So 1, 2, and 3 will go more smoothly and should be quicker.
Great.
I wanted to ask about, I think like Monday, Tuesday of last week, I had somebody over by Big Cross, an acquaintance, asked me like, hey, my water, I forget if they said smells or tastes funny or something, and I was like, I checked mine was fine. And then another friend, I forget where they were, I think they were at a friend's house or something, mentioned like, oh yeah, it's a little weird, I'll let it run a second, it was fine. And I was like, that's weird. I
Yeah,
thought, I was like, you know what, I hope it is. It's just that, you know, the filter things were, they went switch and something, or
No,
we were testing halfway and that one is a little more organic and maybe that got in, or.
No, 1, 2, and 3 obviously have been online since, you know, forever. We did switch reservoirs. We did do that. We went off the upper junction and went back to Halfway Brook for probably a week or so, maybe a little longer, because we had a valve that had failed on upper junction.
Would that coincide with the beginning of the month?
Somewhere in that time frame, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's probably
and
what
that's the same thing. If you ever hear that, please don't hesitate to call me. Let me know, and we can look at it if it's another issue. But through everything that we saw and everything we did as far as testing and stuff, Halfway Brook was really, really good. For some reason, you know, it took less chemicals, took a lot of things that normally we have to do to improve the taste and odor and stuff like that. But the water, for some reason this time, maybe just the coldness or something, was very good.
It's
But
that-
yeah, anytime somebody has, you know,
I
an
told
issue
him that if they're, I was like, you know, is it bothering? Is it crazy? I mean, I can say something at the next monthly meeting, like, you want to call now, or you know?
Yeah, well.
Oh well, I don't, you know. So I don't know how important it was or how bad it was, but you know,
But,
maybe
you
it's just
know,
because I knew I was on the commission that they bothered saying anything.
If it's impacting somebody, we'd like to know, because, you know, the same way you just said, oh, well, you know, and the neighbors may be the same way. Oh, we won't say anything. But unless you tell us, we don't know.
Right. Once in a great while, and it's usually only in the summer, I can sometimes tell when a couple days is tested on halfway, but it's so
Yeah,
slight.
yeah, every
It's
month
very
we have to
slight.
switch over for at least a day, so.
Yeah. It's very slight.
Wow.
Well, as long as it's that and not snapped off water main that's taking in stuff from under Broad Street slowly,
That would be
washing
nice,
it out.
Yeah. So you'll keep us posted on the dual sand unless that'll be it, right? It should switch over Monday.
Should
The
switch
hope.
over Monday, and we're hoping, you know, maybe a month, 5, 6 weeks, and we should be able to be back up and running on all 5, or whatever, as many as we need.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? So the state-led and no-cost asset management program was announced, and I signed that. So Bill, you wanna tell them a little bit about the program?
Yes, an asset management program by the state was set, as the mayor spoke to. What they're looking at is they're gonna pick 50 facilities throughout the state and help them with an asset management plan. Part of the asset management plan would be a committee, and it would be headed by the mayor, myself, Chris, and a couple other people to go ahead and with this program, so that we could tell the state why we need it. You know, it's a way of us telling them, you know, what our facility has, what it's gone through, what we anticipate, what we're budgeting for, expected life expectancy of each piece of equipment when you know, and it allows us to go ahead and project a budget and equipment that's going to be needed to be replaced, life expectancy of all these pieces of equipment. So we have something in place now which is a preventive maintenance program that tells us some of that information, but it's not as in-depth as this program that hopefully will be able to be assisted with by the state. It's got a grant to go ahead and do this, to develop a program.
State-led, no cost, got my attention. So, anyway, hopefully, we're selected, what'd you say, 50th across the state? So, hopefully we get selected.
Yeah,
We can-
the applications had to be in by, do you remember, Chris, it was Friday
The end of this week.
the end of this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, submitted today.
Yeah.
I struggled longer with the electronic signature document than Sheila did with the entire grant application, I'm sure. So, next would be National Grid's request for an easement on Potter Road.
So I spoke with them, the gentleman that's listed on the letter after the last meeting. And I said, and I basically, all of the issues that we discussed, I asked why it is that they're proposing to put this on city property as opposed to all of these private landowners for which it's benefiting, and the answer was, because it's easier to do it that way. So, meaning that it's, even though it's a little longer line, it's easier to ask the city, who's only one person, than to ask for private property owners to get access on their property. So I explained the city's concern about placement of poles and the language in the easement, you know, forever encumbering city property that might ultimately be developed. And he understood that and basically said, even though my letter says the easement's not negotiable, it is. And then he indicated he'd have a field engineer reach out to me to further discuss why these poles shouldn't be placed on the other side of the road on the private property, and I have not yet heard from a field engineer. So that's where we are. So the ball is in National Grid's court on that.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? We'll wait to hear back from you, from them.
Yep.
Hopefully. Okay. Next is lists of streets for paving.
Yes, as directed by the mayor, and Jeremy and I got together, we looked at a list of streets that are going to be paved. DPW, Tom gave us a list of what they're looking at, and what we want to do is, as much as we can, is TV inspect the lines under these streets, because the last thing we want to do is go in and have to dig a street that's just been paved. Not that it's never happened before in any community, not just Glens Falls, but any community, this has happened before. But we would like to go ahead and look at, you know, especially areas that we know we have issues in, to go ahead, get it TV'd, see if there's something, you know, that we can go ahead and do quickly for repair, so we can get the street paved and not have to worry about it.
And so, just so you're aware, this is not the final paving list. This is the one where we know for sure these streets are probably our priority. If we start there, Bill can go ahead and contract out, right, the company that does the TV assessment to know if there's if there's any major concerns that would change the status of those streets. So as soon as the snow melts, So they've done their preliminary. Tom and the DPW crew has done a preliminary. We think these are the worst ones, so we can go ahead with the TV assessment, or, yeah, right, TV, I'm saying TV, but it's sewer
Yeah.
assessment of TV screen, video shots of those. The council members will also be going through their wards and telling us what concerns they have, what streets are most concerning to them. We'll add that to the list, but if we wait until that happens, then we're gonna be late in the TV scanning of these streets and the sewer lines. So, don't want anybody from the public or anywhere else thinking that this list is done. It's the first flush of a list. We're also looking, just so you're aware, at all the sidewalks across this city. And we've got both CHIPS money for sidewalks and paving, and CBG money for sidewalks and paving. We're gonna try to do some entire streets maybe that are the worst, and prioritize. Hoping making this year one of the biggest years for both paving and sidewalks in recent memory. Trying not to do small sections like we've done in the past, panels, because we were worried about maybe paving somebody's that they might have been responsible for the 50/50 program. We're actually going to look at all the needs and then try to prioritize that. Then by that point, we'll have the TV scans of the sewer lines too, and we'll be looking at what money we have, and come up with a reasonable plan instead of doing piecemeal. Trying not to do that. We've got some money built up in our CBG money for those wards that are more first ward, third ward, I think parts of the fifth, or fifth and parts of the third. So anyway, wanted you to know that process is taking place. This is just identifying those most in need and getting scans for those done ahead of time. So if there's major sewer problems, that we pull them maybe just from the paving list and put them on more of a, what are we gonna do about this street list? Fair enough?
Yep, and that's basically how we do it, is we get the diameter of the pipe and the length, and put a bed together and see the most we can get for the amount of money we have.
Great. Any questions?
That's, so is sewer the only thing we can reasonably accurately look at? Is there like a fish finder type device that can detect a supply pipe and breaks in it, or thing? Or it's just like, you just can't until it breaks, check on a supply?
As far as seeing any kind of deterioration within the pipe,
Yeah, any needs on the horizon?
the only way you can do is by TVing it.
The supplies as well?
What do you mean the supplies?
The water supply pipes as
No,
well?
you can't do that.
Yeah, that's.
No, there's
so
nothing
those
that
are
I've
just-
seen. I see you're saying like a little fish camera, so you just let it go with the flow. I don't think so, because you don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna answer that call. But the sewer pipes, obviously,
Sure.
other than force mains that are under pressure, are under pressure. As long as they're flowing and we have the ability to get in there and they're clean enough, and within a 3 or 4, if it's an 8-inch pipe within a 2 or 3 inch flow, the camera should be able to go and identify any kind of issues that will come up. We actually were TVing a couple lines today. We were doing Keenan, and then we were doing Sanford, some parts of Sanford.
Personnel, we have no
No.
personnel tonight. Executive session, I don't believe we need an executive session today. And so the next meeting dates, so the water and sewer workshop of March 21st, we're gonna make a special meeting of this commission for that date, so we can pass business and approve the warrant.
Chris, you around?
Yep.
Okay, and then I'll double check with Peter.
Awesome. And then the next one would be April 4th, the regular board sewer meeting. And I will not be here, I'll be out of town in Ireland.
Yes.
Let's see. Anybody else have anything? Any public comment, Peter, from?
None.
So having none, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second myself.
You second yourself? Done. Thank you all.